Well, good morning, and thanks for this opportunity to be here at the Arch Summit. Really want to thank Vodafone and Tomorrow Street for inviting us to attend this fabulous program. I'm already excited. It's only been a few hours already and meeting some great startups, hearing some great speakers. So a real pleasure to be here. So with Accenture Ventures, we're part of Accenture that really focuses on bridging emerging startups with the enterprise and really finding a way to make that formula work. And so what I want to share with all of you this morning are some thoughts on what's next in technology and how enterprises and startups can get together and make a real difference. So now we're going to test the clicker technology. All right, I'll give it one more try. Let's see if it goes. We know we're having a little technology conference. We're having a little tech challenges. Kind of exciting. All right, can we advance the slide? All right, one more click. There we go. All right, so this is our thoughts on the major technology trends of the next 3 to 5 years. And it's not just the private opinion of some nerds at Accenture. It's actually something we've surveyed around the world, over 6,600 business and technology executives to really get a pulse on what they think is coming next. And the overarching message that we got back from all these world-class executives in many geographies is the fact that not only is there a lot of change happening, but 94% of those executives said that actually technology change is accelerating. It's going faster to a pace that they've never seen before. And so it really becomes this challenge that they can't do it alone, that they've got to find a way to externalize R&D, externalize innovation, so they can possibly hope to keep up with that pace of change. All right, it's not going to click. Oh, wait, there it goes. Hey, all right. So the main theme we want to talk about today is the fact that the post-digital era is upon us. And what's interesting is everyone's like, but wait a minute, everyone's talking digital. How can we already be post-digital? But if you think about it, the things that make up digital, cloud, mobility, big data, e-commerce, and search engine optimization, social media, those are the things of the now. They're table stakes. If you're not already working successfully or not already on a journey to cloud or journey to mobile, well, then you're already one step behind the state of the market. So since this is supposed to be about the next wave, we think we're going to go post-digital. And post-digital are things like the post-digital consumer who is feeling tech overload. In fact, there's a new term floating around the internet called techlash, which is backlash against technology. Or the post-digital worker who's really expecting to have the same digital tools in their job that they have at home. Or post-digital threats. The fact that not do we have to worry about hackers, but in some cases, you actually have to worry about governments getting into the hacking game. If you've been following some of the news, Jeff Bezos and his team have suggested that a state actor actually hacked his phone to get his naughty text messages so they could try to get some advantage over him. And then we come to post-digital markets, where traditional industry lines are blurred and where path to markets are no longer static. If you looked last year in the US in the healthcare industry, the market was roiled with and turned into all kinds of M&A activity when Amazon, JP Morgan Chase, and Berkshire Hathaway announced that they were going to come together and transform employee health benefits, instantly redefining the industry with one press release. And so with all this change upon us, what we're going to talk about and spend just a couple minutes on, and we're going to try to see if the clicker clicks. Yep, there we go. No, it's going, it's going. Yeah, it's working. Hey. So we're going to talk about 5 trends over the next few minutes. Almost. All right, can we click? It's not going. Eh? Click 3 more, just because we'll build it all up. We'll just finish the build. All right, so 5 trends. I'll spend a couple minutes on each because we only have a couple minutes today, and then there'll be a lot to talk about over the remainder of the summit. So let's advance the slide. So the first one is dark power. So this sounds like something that should be like in a Star Wars movie or something like that. But of course, being Accenture, we had to come up with a cool new acronym. But DARQ are the 4 pieces. So if we could do the first click, well, I'll do them all. We'll do the last one. You got them? All right, so there we go, that's builds. So D is distributed ledger, right? Which is the artist formerly known as blockchain, right? Because when we really think about how we're gonna use this technology in the enterprise, it's this distributed ledger that we think unlocks the ability for organizations to rapidly partner and transform industries and value chains. A great real-world example of this is Cathay Pacific, an airline carrier out of APAC, who really wanted to transform and be more fluid and dynamic in their loyalty programs and who they could partner with. And so they turned to Hyperledger Fabric as an enabling emerging tech to let them in just 6 months add hundreds of new partners so that their loyalty points could become a de facto currency up and down the traveler experience. And then we come to artificial intelligence, everyone's favorite hype topic, but really starting to find those first use cases that are really going to unlock the power and the potential. And in fact, HSBC turned to one of the startups that's here, and you can see them outside, called Quantexa. They took Quantexa's AI suite and applied it to anti-money laundering, and it wasn't just a working concept. They've actually prosecuted money laundering cases using AI to diagnose the problem. And then we get to extended reality, AR and VR, and just walking around the floor here, you can see a lot of this technology in play. But again, large enterprises like Farmers Insurance in the US avoided $100 million CapEx to build a new training facility because they could do it in VR and get better results by training their workforce more quickly. And then last but not least, quantum, right? The next wave, the 5th generation of compute, starting to see it come online, starting to see real-world examples. And so Biogen used quantum computing from a startup called 1Qubit to prove that they could do molecular comparisons, a staple of drug research, quantumly, and match the results of traditional compute. So really showing the promise of the tech. And so one of the ways that we can advance the slide, we can, again, just to give you acronym overload, we're gonna move from SMAC, social, mobile, analytics, and cloud, to dark. And we think that's what the next 3 to 5 years is all about. Okay, so apparently we're going to the next trend. All right, fantastic, moving along. So the second trend is get to know me, right? And what we've talked about for 20 years is personalization, right? What's my demographic? I'm a white guy, I'm married, I'm middle-aged, I live in California. That's the kind of data we use historically to do marketing. Well, actually, there's a new generation, what we're calling tech demographics. And if you really want to get to the individual, you've got to understand my tech demographics. And for me, that's Alexa as my voice assistant, iOS as my mobile operating system, Windows as my desktop operating system, and Chrome as my browser. So that's Amazon, Apple, Microsoft, Google. That describes me. So if I'm your customer or your employee, to enable me, to meet me, to empower me, that's what you've got to be able to bridge. And so we think that this becomes very transformative, and it starts to get into whole new data sets that are possible. And so there are 1.7 unbanked consumers on the planet, and you're starting to see new models, like in India, a company called SlicePay, that's using this digital exhaust, that's looking at this personalization data to offer credit, because the traditional credit models don't work, but looking at how the millennials and how the emerging students of India interact online, what's their tech demographics. They can now build a risk model, and as a result, offer credit and open up a whole new customer base. Or Matrix, who's here in the hall, with their digital commerce platform, partnered with Telstra. So again, an enterprise getting together with a startup to enable self-service, self-provisioning, real-time payments. And if you can think about it, all that online interaction, plus 11% net promoter score, minus 43% and bad debt write-off, and plus 5% ARPU post-transaction. So customers love it, less write-offs, more revenue, that's a winner. But with all this personal data and this new digital data, we've got to be careful as the enterprise, how you manage it, how you store it, when you use it, how you respect privacy, how you comply with GDPR and other regulatory environments, because again, we've seen, again, this is the techlash, some of the big digital players not doing so good a job at managing and protecting and monitoring data use. And so you can then, again, turn to startups for the answer. And so one of the ones out in the hall you can check out, Big ID, that's their bread and butter, helping enterprise understand what data they've got, how they're using it, where they're using it, and are they compliant? We're bridging the gaps. All right, let's go on to trend 3. Possibly. All right, so trend 3 is the human plus. It's the next generation of worker. It's finally enabling to bridge the digital divide between the youthful workforces that we all have as we shift from the baby boom and Gen X into millennial, and bridging the gaps from traditional hiring, training, and knowledge working, right? And knowledge sharing. Think about it. It's easier for an employee to share pictures of their cat wearing a pirate outfit than it is to share next quarter's financial projections with team members. And so finding ways to recruit and using things like Unilever uses AI and gamification to cut recruiting cycles from 4 months to 4 weeks, to double the number of job applicants who actually get hired. And as a result, they can compete for talent. And especially when you're competing for top talent, you've got to you meet them where they are. You can't force them to come to your old school ways, because tenure in the job is decreasing. For millennials, the average time on a job before they go to the next one is less than 3 years. So you can't wait for the employee to skill up. You've got to enable them right away. If we can go on to trend 4, and I know I'm giving you the whirlwind version because we've got 2 days to discuss all of this. So trend 4 is about cybersecurity, and it's moving from this idea of protecting just the enterprise, but of actually protecting the network. Because as you know, the old adage is, a chain is only as strong as the weakest link. A hacker can attack anyone in one of these ecosystems, in one of these digital partnerships, and as a result, bridge the entire network. And there's a great example, CalISO, which is the grid operator for the Western US, where they actually partnered with one of the startups that's here today, Dispersive, and again, you can find them out in the hall, in order to do critical infrastructure security, because if someone compromised one utility, they could compromise the entire electrical grid. And so Dispersive is giving them a solution to protect the entirety of that network. And then last but not least, this idea of my markets. The markets of the future are real time and they're momentary. You can't say, well, I'm gonna do this campaign and in 6 months get a customer to come in, or this Christmas holiday season, or whatever it might be. You've got to realize that because of all the digital channels and all the different ways to access, you've got to meet the employee or the customer in the moment and take advantage of real time. And so there's great examples out there of a company called Paper Boats in India that, because of the next generation automation of their infrastructure, they can change over their manufacturing lines, and they make beverages. They can change their lines not in hours or days, but in minutes, 2 to 3 minutes. And as a result, they can hyper-localize the products and the ingredients they use to very specific markets. In fact, there's one city in India that has a 3-day festival, and during those 3 days, they drink a certain beverage. The other 362 days of the year, they don't. So if you don't have the ultimate flexibility, you can't capture that 3-day market. But to do that, you need the ability to have that intelligent infrastructure. And there's startups here, you'll see a lot of them, but one IoT factory that has the sensor networks and the ability to go back and retrofit your existing legacy environments to give you the data so you can have that fluidity and flexibility. And so with that, if we can advance the slide one more time. So I know I fire-hosed you. I know I gave you a quick synopsis of the next 3 to 5 years. But if nothing else, I hope you take away the fact that we're going through a generational shift in technology, that the velocity of change is ramping up, that the opportunity to be successful in the next few years really comes from the enterprise and startups coming together. And thanks to events like this, the Arch Summit, the good news is it's all here at your fingertips. You just have to go out, meet up, and take advantage of it. And so with that, I think I'm going to pass the baton back to Debbie.